Started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize if the audio is off a little bit. I have my microphone, but my singer daughter borrowed it the other day, and I'm not sure where the cord is, so I'm just going to use the default microphone here today. So welcome everyone to the live afternoon swing trading floor. Today is September 21st, which is Merchant Monday. We are broadcasting live from Nashville, Tennessee. And my name is Matt, Second Chance DeLong, right? I'll be your host for this afternoon. I got my sling on. Collarbone's feeling okay right now. If you ever want to know what a collarbone feels like when it breaks, just take a knife, stick it in your shoulder, and that's pretty much what it feels like when the meds wear off. So it's rough at times, but you know what? I got a second chance on life, and some of you may not have heard, but I was on a pretty good accident last weekend, riding my road bike, and ended up being unconscious and woke up in the back of an ambulance. And I had this text message thread with this Good Samaritan who called the ambulance, and she had used my phone, put it over my face, and unlocked the phone and texted herself from my phone when I was kind of in and out of it. So anyways, I'm doing good. Everything's good. Let's get started. So let's start today by looking at the overall indexes. So we're going to take a look at SPY. Does anyone see, I'm sorry, Mark, I was not hit. I thank you. So what happened was I had one hand on the water bottle, one hand on the handlebars right when I was hit a kind of a divot in the road, and lost it. Bike went one way, I went another, and there was cars and traffic going this way. And so that's kind of what happened. So just, it is what it is. So Robert Falco said that I've now joined the Elite Cyclist Club because everybody breaks their collarbone as a cyclist. And so now I'm in the club. So, yep, that's right, Jay. I'm not ready to leave this world. So does anyone see on SPY, can you guys see my screen? Does anyone see a hammer candle, like in this general direction? All right, so that's a pretty interesting candle, given that today we gapped down, we went a little lower, and then we actually closed higher than we opened. So got a white candle on the day. Obviously, still we're down from Friday's close, but it's a very, very interesting spot, and we'll be watching that. Now, as you guys know, on Friday, Jeremy said, "Oh, it's kind of closing right here. I'm going to be buying some puts." Now, how many of you guys know? Jeremy, as many of you may think, he does not actually have superpowers. I know it's tempting to think he does, but he called it perfectly, right? Grab some puts, and let's see what happens. And then today we gapped down, went a little lower, and then closed higher. So let's take a look at the Qs today. The Qs had a slightly different pattern where it gapped down, actually closed higher than it did on Friday. So we're kind of green on the day in the Qs, which, by the way, I actually studied the Qs versus SPY a lot, and I personally like to play the Qs just a tad more. I don't really play them much at all, but when I do play the Qs versus SPY. So Stephen, Tesla is on my list. Yes, let's take a look at that in just a second. So here are the diamonds. The diamonds are looking a little more bearish. You guys agree? So we're gonna look let's look at it on a weekly chart. Oops, where's my weekly button? There we go. Not terribly bearish, but it's still, it looks a little weaker than the other two indexes. Would you agree? So we look at the medium term. We gapped down, kind of closed lower. We didn't have much of a fight back. The bulls didn't fight back much today, we'll say the bears fought a little bit more. So interesting place on the diamonds. So next up on our list is let's see, what is it? LIVX. So LIVX, not even sure what these guys do, but LiveX Media. Let's take a look at the big chart, the big picture, and it looks like a penny stock. Looks like a penny stock that went public a couple of years ago. So not my thing. I try to stay away from penny stocks. Personally, I would just stay away from this one for right now. All right, let's look at Next is Best Buy is on our list. So Best Buy had some interesting kind of pullback to this green line. This green line is a 50-day simple moving, exponential moving average. So you guys will see that we kind of closed up here, gap down, went lower, kind of bounced and held this 50 moving average here and kind of closed higher on the day. Now overall, I think retail is in a kind of a bad space right now, just for COVID and lockdowns that continue across the US and Canada, and especially internationally. Companies that have a big online presence, that make a bulk, the bulk of their share of revenue comes from online, I think they're in a better place. I personally don't know what Best Buy, what percentage of their revenue comes from online sales versus physical stores. Does anyone know? Maybe someone can Google that and we can come back to that. But looking at some long-term moving averages, it's still quite a ways away from our 100 and 200. So it's definitely got some room to pull back, and maybe in the next couple weeks, we can look at whether or not we fill this gap right here. I don't remember what this was. This is not an earnings gap, but it certainly gapped up and is not yet kind of retested that space right there. So that is that. Next is Under Armour, UAA. Under Armour doesn't look terribly bullish. I'm going to stay away from that one right now. Next is IDXX. And for those of you, I posted today in chat, but for those of you who are struggling day traders, I threw out that, hey, maybe, just maybe, you are a closet swing trader, but don't know it. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. I'll tell you kind of what I did and how I've learned that I'm not the best day trader. I used to make all my money swing trading and then lose it all day trading. So that was an easy fix, right? So IDXX, I'm not sure what this company is, but it looks like it's some kind of biotech company. It actually had a pretty strong close today. So maybe look for, this is not what I'm doing. This is not on my watch list, but maybe doing something like this where we look for some kind of a pullback. Let's see where we're looking for a buy here and maybe something like a stop down here, kind of a little bit below the 100 moving average for whoever it was that asked for that. Yates is saying online sales 42% of US revenue as of May. Okay, so still the bulk, the lion's share, a big piece of it, 58% comes from their physical, like retail stores. There's a lot of retail space, especially landlords that own malls and stuff. A lot of them are hurting right now, as you can imagine. So glad I'm not in that business. although sometime in my life I wish I was, but I'm glad I wasn't. All right, so next is Select Quote. I've got an interesting hammer on this. So I typically like to play stocks that are on my watch list only. I don't, and some of you may know that I actually have a list of 15, and I only play those 15. And today's list, I was looking at today, none of them are actually, none of these except for Roku and Tesla are actually on my list that I'll play. So I'd be happy to look at this stuff for you. So it looks like an interesting, you guys see, this is my drawer. So it looks like we kind of have a little bit of a double bottom here, and we're kind of retesting this gap area today, right, with today's candle. And I think it's very interesting. If you wanted to play it, you can certainly do like a stop limit up here, stop limit buy with a stop market down here. Now, because, let's see, does this have a 50? Okay, it does have a 50 moving average, but because it just IPO'd back in May, wow. So companies still IPO in the middle of middle of COVID. That's interesting. All right, so some of you guys are asking questions. Will you share what 15 you always watch? I will share a few of them. Can't give all my candy away. So we're gonna talk about a couple here in just a second. Roku and Tesla are on my list. What's my average time in a swing trade? Let me think, probably a few days to a few weeks. Yeah, sometimes months. So I'll show you my biggest trade of the year was actually several months. And I can show you guys that here in a little bit when we have some time. Okay, so next is AMD. AMD, which I really like this one. It's not on my list, but I am looking at this. As you see today, guys, it looks. Do we have a lower? I mean, double tweezer bottom. We did not, but we did come rather close. 3 cents. So today kind of took out yesterday's or Friday's little bit of bearish volume. So I expect that to continue higher on AMD. Yeah, it's 3 cents. Yep. Okay, next is CWEN, which is an energy company. Let's look at kind of a medium-term moving average. Some medium-term moving averages. Looks like an interesting move today. It looks like it's kind of held up on this green line, which is the 50 exponential moving average. You guys did see right here was a little bit, not quite a perfect candle, but a perfect hammer, but it did kind of bounce, go higher from there, and looks like it might be retesting some of these lower levels. But I think it's interesting, something that you could consider. I don't typically do energy, but something like this would be maybe wait for a pullback here, like a limit buy here with a stop down here, something like that. So we're just kind of hoping it would continue lower, kind of complete this S curve and continue something like that. So that is CWEN. Next is SAVA, S-A-V-A. Sorry, it's hard to type with one hand. Okay, looks like another one of these penny stock biotech companies. Nothing I would touch. I mean, it was $3. These are the kind of stocks that, like the Timothy Sykes of the world, this is, I think, their kind of play. This is way too random. I like the predictable stuff, not the crazy random stuff you get. You can make a few bucks with, but you lose most of the time. Same thing with like Nikola. I mean, this thing gaps around it. We all know kind of the story behind this one, behind Nikola, which is the Tesla wannabe company. Is that a good way to say it, Falco? The Tesla wannabe company? Yeah. Elon drops Tesla stock after hours. After we tweet tomorrow's announcement, it will take a year or two to come to production. Nice. Well, we'll take a look at it. How many of you guys, just tell me in the chat pane, put a $sign in if, put a $sign in the chat pane if you are a consistently profitable swing trader. Put some $signs in there. Pablo, Edward, Varian, Magical Mark, Yates, Peter, Nancy, Sybil, Shane. Okay, great. Excellent. So swing yes, day no. So Pablo, you might be that closet swing trader, right? So one of the things I learned early on in my trading career is I started with a big account. And when I say a big account, it was a big account. I started with a big account, and my first year, I lost a big chunk. My second year, I actually gained it back in all, but I noticed every time I do day trades, I was losing. Every time I did swing trades, I was winning. So it's easy. Okay, how do I solve that? Well, I just, do less day trading and more swing trading. And I ended up doing, like, I literally, when I say I day trade every once in a while, I mean, what I mean by every once in a while is like once every 4 months. And then I still usually lose on those, but I got some buffer, some swing trade gainage that I can play with a little bit. So it's not the end of the world. But so for those of you who are struggling as a day trader, just something to think about. Maybe your thing is swing trading, right? Maybe not being in front of the computer all day, every day, 6.5 hours during the market open, while the market is open. Maybe that's not your thing. Maybe, like I do, I literally spend 2 or 3 hours a week. Now, not a day, 2 or 3 hours a week. So usually a little bit in the morning and about half an hour to an hour in the afternoon. Some days there's nothing setting up, so I just don't even look at anything in the afternoon. So that's typically how I trade. I think the feeling is you have to really grind and work hard to make money in the market, which, that certainly is possible, but it's not necessary, right? So for me, I like to, because I was a software CEO. Yeah, Jeff, yeah, some of you guys are familiar with selling put option premium. It's kind of a an intermediate to advanced trading strategy. It's not for beginners, but some of us, we just set up a few trades every couple, 3 days, let it do its thing, and then, you know, harvest it when the time comes. And you don't necessarily have to even have big chunks of money deployed to make a decent gainage. So today I closed some Tesla. Let's go look at Tesla. The actual legit Nikola. So let me show you my indicator here. Guys, keep in mind the indicators are just indicators. They're not automatically going to make you money. They do help you make decisions, but it's not automatically going to make you money. So let me show you a little bit what I did. So the Friday, as you guys know, 2 weeks ago, we hosted the Nashville retreat. Myself, Jeremy, Dan Jensen, Stephen King. We were there speaking. And the Friday before the actual event was September 4th. So on this exact day right here, I sold a, I gotta go back and look, I believe it was the, Jeff remind me, it's the 280? I believe it was the 280 put option. So I sold a put option for $20. Okay? And the very next day, oh, and by the way, I did it when the actual, this obviously is a daily candle. We're looking at a daily chart. And for those of you who aren't familiar with selling put option premium, I'm basically providing insurance to someone who owns the shares of, in this case, Tesla. They own the shares and they want to buy protection, like against the lower move. And I've kind of worked up this little formula that, okay, when price action is kind of in this green area, like below the blue line and maybe in this area above the green a little bit, that I'm going to sell them I'm going to sell them premium against the lower move. And so what I'm doing is I'm kind of providing them insurance against the lower move. And so I sold this, I believe it was October, the normal regular October option for $20. Okay, so I sold 2 contracts, so I collected $4,000. So basically, I said, hey, if this goes below 280 by, let's see, what is the normal monthly? October 16th, right? So if this goes below by October 16th, below my line, my strike price, I will buy the shares from you. I will provide insurance below that, right? Which means when I sold it, that also means I got all this wiggle room that you can still go down and I can still be profitable, which is one of the things I really like about selling put option premium. Okay, is everyone with me so far? Put a 1 in the chat pane if you're still with me. I want you guys falling asleep on me. Okay. So I sell it when the price action is like right in this area, and I collect $20. Okay, and my rules say, hey Matt, you can buy it back. I'm selling it to open, and I can buy it back to close once 50% of the premium is kind of evaporated. Okay, and so this actual first day that I sold it, you can see I sold it down here and we closed up here. So within the very first day, I was literally up in R already. And I'm thinking, man, I should just take the win. But no, I got to follow my plan, right? Because as a trader, your job is not to win. Your job is not to take trades. Your job is to execute your plan. And if anybody gets anything out of today, this needs to be it. So get your notepads out and write this down. Matt DeLong says, so the job of a trader, your job is to execute your plan. So in order to do that, you obviously have to have a plan. It's got to be written out. You have to have rules for when you exit early, when you take gains early, right? You have to have all that out. I do, Brett, I do long calls with one of my other strategies. I do, yep. Okay, so I sold this for $20. And I closed on Friday, right before the retreat. I was up 1 hour, and the very next day, I'm now down 1 hour. Now, how many of you would be like, oh man, I should have taken the win, right? But look where my break even is. My break even actually is, my break even is actually 260 down here, right? Because I sold the 280 and I collected $20 premium. I got more time. Now, I do know that Tesla's battery day, quote unquote, is coming out and of course, Jeremy's super bullish on Tesla. This is not the most bullish candle ever, and you close with the shaved bottom, right? Not the most warm, fuzzy kind of candle to see when you're bullish on a trade like this. So let's see what happens. Okay, now I went from being negative to slightly positive, kind of roughly the same. Boom, boom. September 15th, which was Tuesday. So then we're going to go down a little bit. We're going to go back up. Boom, there's today. So today I sold, when I sold it for $20, and I bought it back today for $5 and change. So basically 75% of the premium had evaporated. So imagine you sell, the expiration was the regular October. Yep. So imagine selling like an insurance contract to someone who's like freaking out and emotional and they're losing their stuff, right? They don't have it together. And that's kind of what we do when we sell put option premium. You have to be careful with it because it could be like a firecracker in your hand. You do have to be careful. And this is one of the discussions that I led at the retreat. If any of you guys are interested, we do have another retreat coming up. Let's see, where is it at? In Charlotte, North Carolina in January. This is like our only live event we have right now. So check it out if you're interested. I'll put a link in the chat. Jeremy and I, Stephen King, a bunch of us will be there talking and doing what we do all day, every day. What's interesting is when we, let me put a link in here, is when we tell you guys kind of what we're doing, what we're trading, what we're looking at, a lot of people say, oh yeah, that's cool, but very few people actually take action. And that's kind of the difference maker for a lot of traders is you can go to a conference, you can get excited, you can have all the high fives and the energy is going, but if you go home and do nothing different, it's just kind of like a cool thing to go to. You know, it's like just a thing. But it could literally be like a turning point in your trading career. Like literally. So Mason, I'm not sure if he's in here. Mason put a 1 in the chat room. So Mason, we actually had a RLT internal staff meeting on Tuesday. So we go up to the conference room that we had rented out for the week during the retreat. And Mason is actually up there. And I think he has like a bag of Doritos and some ice cream. That's, you know, dinner for champions right there. And he's there back trading. Like we had to kick him out of the room because we needed the room for our event for a kind of a team meeting. But, you know, that's the kind of thing we like to see. We like to see people hustling, getting after it. Even though the event's over, you know, we're still there for the day. I mean, the day had ended and he was there. I think it was like 8 p.m. You know, the event had ended at around 5 p.m. and he was still there doing that thing. So anyways, shout out to Mason for getting after it and hustling. So anyways, this is kind of one of my 3 strategies that I kind of work with and I teach. But I just want to show you guys that. Does anyone have any questions about selling put option premium? I know that there are people who have really small accounts, which makes this strategy super difficult to do because obviously you have to have enough money in your account to buy the shares, right? If the insurance is kind of cashed in and you expire, the put option expires in the money, you need to do that. So what indicator are you using there? So this is my own indicator that I created. And it basically, I'm looking for a strike price right here at the screen line or lower. And I'm waiting for a $sign to appear on the daily chart. So that represents a pullback from the previous day's close of at least 4.5%. So you can actually configure that inside the indicator itself. So, I do have a video on it that we recorded a couple, 2 years ago, 2.5, maybe 3 years now, something like that. 2 years ago, yeah. Yeah, Pablo, if you can find the video URL for it and paste it in here for me, that'd be great. Okay, any questions on Tesla? Any questions on naked puts or just cover cash secured puts? You can do this in IRA too. If your bigger account is an IRA, you can do this in IRA. Any questions? You guys with me still? Put a 1 in the chat panel. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Okay, let me show you one more trade that I did. I have 3 strategies. One is my put option, and one is my position trading. Let me show you this, guys. So, has anyone heard us talk about go-go? Yeah, type a G in the chat panel if you've heard us talk about go-go. So on March 30th, right here, okay, on March 30th, I bought a $4 call option for January of 2021. And I paid 20 cents for each one. So, I'm sorry, I paid 40 cents for each one. So that was $40 a contract. And I bought 100 contracts. So I literally risked $4,000. And I'll show you what happened with it. But it literally went sideways for a really long time. Now, how many of you guys are in a trade, it's not going anywhere, you exit quickly, or you exit eventually? Like, so I bought it right here on this day. Let me see if I can draw that day. So what happens? It's profitable, it's not profitable, it's profitable, it's not profitable, right? Kind of bounces around. And I literally spent $4,000, absolute zero. And I'm betting that it's going to go above $4. So you'll remember that we actually had a weekly option newsletter in this area that we played as well. I actually didn't even exit anything right there, but you know what? It's all good. I'm in here for several months. Now, you guys can see what's happening here. We're getting some new highs coming in. And I had, again, 100 contracts. Now, how many shares is 100 contracts? Somebody tell me. 10,000. Yep. So I had 10,000 shares, basically. I controlled 10,000 shares. I didn't actually have the shares. I had the call option. So I had the right to buy it at $4, and I paid 40 cents for that option. And again, I'm like, oh man, I should have just closed it up there. It would have nicely been a triple, double or a triple. And most of you may not know this, but options don't necessarily have to go in the money if you have a big chunk of time left, because options, like being long option, when you buy directional options for, I forget whoever it was that asked about that a few minutes ago. But when you buy options, you don't necessarily have to be in the money for it to be worthwhile. If you have a big chunk of time left and you're getting closer to the money, that 40 cents that I paid will go up anyways, right? As it approaches the strike price and as it gets closer to being at the money or in the money. So by then I was up probably, I had maybe doubled my money, doubled or tripled, something like that. And so you guys, I'll let this play out. And don't blink because it's going to happen fast. Don't blink, wait for it. I'm like, man, I should have taken my gains. Nope. Well, my plan. All right. So at this point on this day, I actually sold covered calls, like a diagonal covered calls against a fourth of my shares. So I gave someone the right to buy it from me. I think I sold the $5 or $6. Go back and look at my notes. But I sold a covered call, which gave someone else the right to take it away from me at $5. And I didn't do that on all of my shares, just a fourth of them. So now I'm kind of short 2,500 shares. I'm still long the other 7,500. And you guys probably know what's going to happen here. We went to the moon. And I went ahead and exited all of it up here. And that ended up being, I think, like a 23R trade. So I turned 4,000 into 27,000, something like that. Now, did I get lucky? Yes. Did I exit my trade early? No. But I was just very patient. And I talked to a few people at the retreat who said, Matt, I had some go-go, because I've talked about it before, but it's like, it wasn't going anywhere, so I exited. Well, you can do that, but you're obviously taking a risk. Why take the risk and then take the profit, or exit your profit potential? So so what happened to the cover calls? I woke up one morning, it was one of these days, and my account had 25 covered calls, or that was gone, and it showed I was short 2,500 shares. So what I did was I waited for some dip, like I think it was this day. I can go back and get the exact dates if you guys want to see that. But on this day where we gapped down a little bit, I went ahead and bought them back, closed that for loss. Obviously, I got the premium for the covered calls, and I kind of lost the difference between the 5 and 7 because I gave someone a right to take it away from me here. So I closed that out, and then I just peeled off another 25 contracts, and then then the rest is history. So I think right now we're probably chopping around. Yeah, we made a new high up here, but I was already out. So anyways, all that to say that if you are a struggling day trader, maybe something like this, a trade that you just sit on for a few months, maybe that's your thing. You just don't necessarily know that yet, right? So anyways, I just want to share that with you guys. I thank you, Lehman. I did not use fibs. I just bought it because it was hanging around there and looked like it was kind of going sideways for a bit. Had some pops, but that's what I did. So I got in at the end of March, early April, somewhere in here. Yep. I did not do any fib targets. No. How do you determine your exits? Well, when you're up $23,000, I think it's a good time to go ahead and take the wins. So yeah, I trade $1,000 R just like Jeremy does on swing trades. Part of the other reason why I like swing trades is it's so much easier for me to predict where things are going to go in days and weeks than like the next hour. 2.4 R I thought was the exit. No, 2.4 R. So on day trades, typically I would take a small win like that, a 2.4 R. I do not only swing. Do you only do option swing trades? I do some option swing trades. Yes. One of my strategies is position trading. So I will buy a chunk of shares, an even $100 increment. So 100, 200, 300. And then I'll wait for a strong up day, and then I'll sell a covered call, use that premium from the covered call to buy a lower strike put. So some have downside protection. And I'll put this called a collar. I'll put a collar on my trade without actually actually coming out of pocket for insurance, if that makes sense. So kind of sell the cover call, use that premium to buy a lower strike put for downside protection. So yeah, that's how I did. Do you have an in the money OTM preference for long calls? I typically like 40 delta. Typically, I've run a bunch of tests in some software that I use that can test strategies, and I typically like a 40 delta. Does your option trade zero play? I'm not sure what it means. I think you're talking about absolute zero. Is that what you're talking about, Lehman? One other thing I want to show you guys real quick is, for those of you, I realized today in preparation for this, we don't necessarily say, here's some strategies for how to swing trade, right? Like we're like, oh, let's have our watch list of, ask the audience, kind of ask you guys what you want to look at. But what I like to do is, let's look at this indicator I built. But imagine that this is Shopify, but imagine a strategy like this, where I just pick any random time. But imagine I'm looking for this blue line is my 10 EMA. And let's say I want to wait for a close below and then a close above, right? So I'm basically looking for close below yesterday and a close above today, something like that, okay? And I do this with some of the coaching students that I work with, and just to illustrate how the strategy works. Now here we almost close below. And so what I'm looking for is I'm looking for that close below and a close above. Just a super simple strategy. There we go. Does anyone see what kind of candle this is right here that closed on May 27th? What kind of candle is that? Yeah, MC Hammer. Yes, that's right. Good job. So that alone tells me, hey, if we close above, this thing's going to be going higher. So what I'd like to do is here we're closing below this blue line, right? You guys see that? We're closing below. And the very next day I want to close above, which there we did not close above, right? If we were playing a break high, we would have been triggered in, we would have been down a little bit. There we go, back to break even. We're not quite closing above, But again, we're closing below still. This candle is closed below. We're flirting with the 10 EMA. Boom. Now, do you guys notice this little green arrow that showed up? That's because I had this 10 EMA strategy that I gave out at the retreat. And it's basically you're closing below, and then the very next day you're closing above. So essentially what I would do is I would buy some kind of either shares or options at the close. Let's see, limit buy with maybe a stop down here. You could buy options, you could buy the actual shares. Shopify is getting more and more expensive, so obviously it takes bigger chunks of your account to buy big 100 shares of Shopify. But this is basically what I'm doing is I'm buying at the close. So you close below and then close above. Does that make sense? I do not use smaller time frames, so time entries. I do, but not for this strategy. Does this make sense, guys? So close below the 10 EMA, and then the following day we're closing above. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. Right here, we're down just a little bit, down even more, down some more. Looks like it's fighting back. And again, you see the blue and red lines, the 10 EMA and the 20 EMA, and this 50 EMA are kind of converging a little bit. All right, so there we go. If we weren't in before, there's my arrow, jump in, boom. Right, and now if you wanted to do like a normal 2R exit, you could do something like this, where we're looking at a 1R target here and a 2R target here. Something like that. That's not exact to the penny, but that's basically what happens. So I'm expecting this to do maybe something like this. So what happens? I don't know. There we go, 2R. Boom. So again, this is just a basic strategy you can use if you are just starting out swing trading. It's a great one to test with. It's kind of like a practice strategy. And I do go over this with students, with my coaching students, but it works pretty well, especially on Shopify. And so this is just something you guys can play with. I can send you guys the source code. Actually, I'll publish it. I got to publish it in my account. I'll publish it later and then put it in Slack if that works. But anyways, you guys can see it's super easy. Now, obviously, I'm not day trading this. This is what, about 2.5, 3 weeks, and I'm already at 2R at that point. Now, you can do it a couple different ways. If you have shares, if you bought 100 shares and you kind of went higher on this would be a great day to sell, do a collar where you sell some cover call up here, and then maybe you buy a lower strike put option here. And so that guarantees that if you go below this gain from where you entered, here to here is locked in. It's a locked in gain. And anything above this, you're giving it away. You're giving someone else the right to it. So just something to think about. We do have a hedging with options course that kind of goes over that. It is a little bit pricey, but I'm talking to Jeremy about potentially teaching this live later this year at a lower price. So it's something to think about. This hedging with options teaches you how to do exactly what I'm talking about with the collar. So, anyways, that's this kind of approach. It's just a basic 10 EMA where you're closing above. You're closing below and then closing above. So, any questions on that? Is the Angela indicator trading view that you made? Yes, that's a day trading strategy. Yep, that is on. Yep. It's out there in the ether web somewhere. What's a good goal for R's per month on swing trading plan? So I'll just say that it depends on your experience. I would be disappointed with 5 R's in a month. I've made 5 R's in a month, but obviously if you're just starting out, 5 R's is really good. If you're just starting out, trying to get 2 or 3 R's profitably consistently every month is a little bit of a struggle, which is fine. We all have to put in our time. I feel like to learn trading, you have to be willing to put in a good 10,000 hours, not $10,000, but 10,000 hours of your time studying, back trading, and trading live before you really can become more proficient with some of these terms. There's certain strategies that Jeremy uses that I don't use, and there's certain strategies I use that he doesn't use. And part of what you learn in a community like this is that everyone has their own style, their own way of trading. I prefer the slow and steady, sometimes wild stuff that happens with swing trading, kind of gapping overnight, gapping up or down, moving in your direction, moving against you. I prefer that over kind of the wild, wild west of day trading. So anyways, that's how I do that. So David asked, close below and then above the next day, but on shop to close above with several days out. So David, you did, that is correct. Here on this, let's see, which candle did we enter? We entered here. So we did still right here, we closed below. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the candle that closes below the first time, it's just being closed below. If we close below and then the next day we close above. That makes sense. I hope that answers your question. Lehman, do I research the fundamentals of the companies before you trade them? I don't know. What do you guys think? I actually do a little bit thorough kind of check on some things. Yes. I do have some. If you guys are paying attention, you'll see some of them are here. These are not all. These are not all the tickers that I look at, but there's a few mixed in there. So Shopify, yep. Roku, yes. Fastly, yes, please. So a couple of those are ones that I play. The thing about having a watch list of the same tickers over and over and over, I feel like it gives me an advantage because I can feel the personality of all these stocks. Whereas if you guys are building a brand new watch list every time, you don't even know what the name of the company is you're trading. You know, I feel like I can get to know them a little bit more on a deeper level and kind of get a feel for how they act. I've made more money on Shopify by itself than all my other trades combined, like ever, even more than GoGo over the years. If you look at one ticker symbol, and part of that's because I've learned kind of the personality of how Shopify trades. And if I got a brand new watch list every single day with new tickers, it's really hard to do that because you're constantly getting, you know, big new lists of new stuff all day, every day. And so that's one of the advantages of having that same list is I don't necessarily have to go build my watch list every single day from scratch. I have my list. And every once in a while, I'll take one off and add a new one. That's my rule, is if I want to add one, I got to first take one off. So I look at which one I don't like anymore, take it off, and then add it. Yeah. So Craig, so anyways, you know, I do help process some of the cancellations that happen in our community for RLT when someone's like, Matt, I quit, I can't do it anymore. And people will say, I just don't have time. I don't have time, so I'm going to quit. And it's like, man, you know, you work really hard to get to this moment and you want to quit and start back all over where you were so desperate before to get to here and you just want to quit. And my friend Jeremy and our friend Jesse Itzler would say, you know, you got this far and you work so hard to get here, you don't want to quit. You don't want to go back. You want to be here, you know? And so anyways, that's kind of heartbreaking for people to say, oh, I don't have the time. Because I literally only spend 2 or 3 hours a week, literally. And you guys can see on my GoGo trade, I only placed the order one time to enter, and then I exited in 3 or 4 legs, right? And so, you know, all total, my actual time I spent on that trade was minimal, probably 20 minutes max over a period of 3 or 4 months, 4 or 5 months. So, yeah. So, guys, I just want to encourage you, don't quit if you're struggling as a day trader. Maybe this is your thing. I learned this is my thing. I didn't do so well in day trading. I'd make the money swing trading, lose it back day trading. So anyways, any questions? And I can continue on our list. Okay. So do I swing trade stocks that you also invest in long-term? Yes, I do. Could I download your indicator? Yeah. Pablo, can you get the link to my indicator and paste it here in TradingView, or Jeff, one of you guys? Yep, thanks. Well, that's the video. I'm talking about the indicator itself on TradingView. Yep. Okay, let's take a look. Does anything that I'm saying resonate with any of you guys? Like, give me a couple dollar signs in the chat panel if any of this like connects with you. Okay. Jacob Anderson, what's up? Hey Jacob, I sent that selfie that you and I took, was it back in July, to your brother? You said, hey, what's up? Yep, Chief. Yep, Chief, broadcasting from Hawaii. Man, is Hawaii still in lockdown, Chief? Because I wanted to come in December to Hawaii, but I don't know if they're going to let us. I don't want to do like 2 months of quarantine before and after. Kind of crazy. It's kind of like, man, you got to share that awesome view with some of us from the mainland. Okay, cool. And do you know how far is it in a lockdown? Do you know, is there any projections? Is that through the end of the year? Is that till next January? Till what does that look like? October 15th. Really? Okay, so about a month. Wow. Okay. Do you make the class increase your net worth only 2 hours a week? I'm not sure what you're asking. Do I make it like Jerremy recorded that back, I think it was in January or February of this year. It's a newer class, and it basically is, playing the hammer candle. So you guys see here, there's a nice hammer candle. Typically you want it in like a pullback, so, yep. Okay, let's take a look at some stocks. You guys want to hear me ramble? Because I can ramble. My wife tells me I am a talker. Okay, so let's take a look at the longer term. This is a Steel Corporation, yep. So not super bullish, right? You guys agree? Not super bullish. Now, I don't have the skills to try to pick the bottom, and I've lost more money trying to pick the bottom on some of these things. Why would you trade something like this when you can have something that looks like this, where we're going from the bottom left of the screen to the top right, and there's some kind of pullback. And if you guys want to peek at this, this would have been a perfect. Actually, I did sell it on this last week on Shopify. I still have it. 25% of my premium is already gone. So I need to wait for at least 50%. I sold the January, Jeff. I sold the January option on Shopify. So anyways, if you guys, it was a 6, I don't know where my phone is. I could check, but 6, I'm going to say the 680 strike, something like that. Realistically, can you make a living swing trading? That is a great question, Brett. Great question. Yes, you can. Now, people assume, which is a limiting belief that people have, people assume that day trading, because you're in it grinding out, you can make more, which is not necessarily true, right? You can obviously make more either way. Most day traders have this fear, this phobia of this thing called overnight risk. And a lot of the money that is made in SPY, or really any ETF over a long term, is overnight gaps, right? So gaps can be a double-edged sword, right? So you can have gaps that work in your favor, gaps that move against you. But overall, big chunk of money is made with gaps. So all that to say that obviously not the past couple of weeks on SPY. But I actually wrote a program that I can input a few parameters, and it'll tell me what is better. Whether it is a overnight hold, meaning I buy at the close and sell at the next day's open. It compares that time frame on whatever ticker symbol, if it's SPY or the Qs. It compares that to something like, let's say, a day trade where I buy at the open and sell at the close. Right, so I'm basically playing like on this candle right here. I'm going to buy at the open, sell at the close. In this case, obviously, that would not have worked. However, some of these, you can see some of these where I buy at the open, sell at the close. Some of these would have worked. So my white candles obviously would have worked. Now, the next thing it does the overnight, which I just mentioned, where you buy, the system will automatically buy at the close and sell at the open the very next day. And that typically works better on the Qs than buying at the open and selling at the close. The third test it runs is like a buy and hold. So if I have like a 2-year time frame, I'm testing, it buys at the very beginning and sells it. So it buys at the open on day 1 and sells at the close. And that's like a third test. And so I'm able to run like thousands of tests just in a few seconds. So it gives me a little bit of insight statistically and probability wise on, that's why I typically would trade the Qs more often than the SPY. So, and plus it's a little bit cheaper options. Everything's a little bit cheaper. So, Q. Yep. Okay. Angela, welcome. What percent of your account do you think one can make just swing trading? Well, I just like 99.9% of what I do is swing trading. So I guess that's the answer. It is harder with the small account. I will tell you this, guys, is a lot of you wish and dream and pray for a bigger trading account. And this is how I like to explain it. Everyone wants a bigger account. Even I want a bigger account, Jeremy. Everyone wants a bigger account. But really what you want is you want your skill level and your account size to grow in tandem. Like I mentioned, I started with a big account and lost a big chunk of it, right? So having a big account was kind of a negative. It was a con. It didn't work in my favor. Now I obviously made it back and then some and then some and then some. But you want your skill level to match your account size. And even if you have a $5 or $10 or $2,000 account, swing trading is probably a better option for you, I think. You don't necessarily have to go in and try to grind out, R's every single day. At the end of the day, I think, at least for me, I like to know when to roll out risk and when to pull it in, right? So I look at things called distribution days, which is how many days there's been sell-offs on the indexes in the past, going back 25 days. And usually when there's at least 5 or more, it's kind of like a caution flag, like if any of you NASCAR fans, there's a caution flag, meaning be careful. And so that signals to me, hey, I probably don't want to go open up a whole bunch of bullish swing trades right now. And so learning when to pull out risk, when to pull it back in, when to open new positions, and when to just close some down. That's another big piece that I've learned in swing trading, because I can set up trades and get triggered in and make lots of R's. But if I open up a whole bunch of new positions and they all gap down against me the next day, I just lost all my R's that I made. So that's something else to keep in mind. Yep. Do I use candlestick pattern with my indicator or just indicator entry point? So typically, I'm not sure, Lucian, which indicator we're talking about, but on the naked puts that I was showing earlier, there's no pattern I'm looking for. I want it to be kind of in this sell zone, this green shaded area. Yep. Oh, the 10 EMA. No, typically there's no pattern I'm looking for. Obviously, if I can see like a reversal pattern or a hammer, and I get the go ahead, obviously that's like a 2 stamps of approval. That's even better. But typically, I'm not looking for that. Jack, I will look at that again. Yeah, so it depends on what your monthly cost of living needs are. So I would say for those of you who have like a 10,000 or less swing trading account, you probably need to work at it for a little bit, right? I like to tell the guys that I work with that ideally you have 3 revenue streams. Trading could be one. Maybe you still have your full-time job, which is the beauty of swing trading. You can keep your full-time job and swing trade and do some other side hustle. And that's what I do. I mean, I have a house, 1910 farmhouse in Louisville that I'm renovating. I got contractors. I go up every couple days, check on it, and bought the house, put some money into it, and I'm going to make a nice profit here when it sells and closes here shortly. So I like to have multiple streams of income. I will tell you this is if you're working full time and if you were only trying to survive on your trading income and you were just starting out, the pressure on your shoulders is massive, especially if you're married or have a significant other and they're like, you got to make at least X number of dollars every month, because the pressure is there, and it's a rough go if you put that pressure on you. But if you have other income that you can live on while you're trying to put in your time to learn the swing trading, much better odds, right? Much better odds. Yes, Joseph in Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah. So Shane is saying, I learned the hard way that having 14 swings open at the same time is a bad idea. I have no rule for no. I now have a rule for no more than 5 open at a time. Yep. Yep. Sell your wife, increase trading account. That's funny. Okay. Let's look at a couple more here on our list. Let's look at Boeing. And I've got to fly through this. Boeing, let me turn off my mediums. Boeing, does this look bullish to you guys? No, not me either. Okay, Adobe, big, massive software company. Does this look bullish to you guys? This looks bullish to me, and you can see my arrows where we would have bought at the close, would have worked well. There's certain stocks you can test this on that it works better than others. That's part of the rule. Obviously, if you bought up here on a big up day, there was obviously some pullback. Jeremy likes to say about halfway down the candle. That's not what this strategy is, but obviously in this one we would have got stopped out on that one. But it's just a visual that you guys can see how this works as it trends higher. Obviously, if you would have bought right here at the close today, this candle here was a bearish sell-off day with increased volume. So you would have definitely been stopped out on that, but you could have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, 7 good trades otherwise. One of the things that we did at the retreat, which I don't know if you guys ever thought about this, is if you're brand new trading and you have a 50-50 win rate, how is it possible to be profitable? So one of the things we did is we showed a quarter, we flipped the quarter. If you get heads, you win 2R. If you get a tails, you lose 1R. And we're like, okay, we're going to flip it 10 times, and we're going to see what happens. So then we're up, then we're down, then we're up. Right? And you guys can tell with 2R wins and 1R losses, even 50-50 win rates, we're going to be profitable. And I'll take those odds every single time. And so when on our little experiment live, didn't know what was going to happen, live in front of a room full of people, after 10 flips, we were up 8R. So we went up, then we went down, then we had a string of, I think, 3 losers in a row. So we were up 2R, then down 1, down 1. So anyways, that's how it ended up. And so when people ask us about what are your win rates, most of you don't know this, but that's only like a piece of the formula, right? It's like trying to figure out how to make a cake, and they're like, how much sugar do I use? Well, what's the rest of it? Is there flour? Is there icing? Like what else is in the recipe? No. Yeah. So that is Adobe. This looks solid to me. It's kind of held. You'll see here that it kind of kissed the 50 moving average. I think this is a decent one. This is not on my watch list, so I would not play this, but I would set up something like this. Maybe wait for half that candle. So tomorrow do something like this where we're just going to do a limit buy here with a stop down here, something like that. Yep. Okay. Got a couple more. We looked at Tesla already. NNOX. You guys like these? Sounds like a pharma. This one. So it hasn't been out long enough to have a history. So no, I don't know what to tell you. QURE. You'll see in this case, we're below the 50 moving average. Up here, we would have been above, so these would have been decent ones. This is below, so that one would not have triggered because we're below the 50 moving average. Next one is Big Commerce, which I know some of these guys. Eddie, guys. So this is a company that is headquartered in Austin, Texas, but they are. It's actually an Australian company headquartered in Texas. Yeah. So I'm not bullish on the company overall, and I'll show you why. So if I compare Big Commerce and Shopify here, so I have it preloaded. You guys know you can put multiple ticker symbols in here and do a comparison. The reason I don't like Big Commerce is the price to sales ratio is obviously lower than Shopify's, but look at their actual sales are like a third. Their sales growth, I mean, how fast they're growing quarter over quarter. Their sales growth is about a third, but their Shopify's valuation If you were to say it should be 3x that, because this is a third, you know, to me, BigCommerce is still way too expensive. And you'll see that it had a crazy run up to 162.50. So something that loses that much value that quickly, I think is kind of in the naughty seat, for at least for now, for me. So this is not one I would touch. I do know some people who have puke orders on this way down in this 40-50 range. So this is not one I would not sell a naked put on this one. It doesn't have enough history to know, where it's going or what could happen with this one. So again, the value, I think it's still a crazy value for a company that just grows a little bit, 30%. 30% is not a little bit, sorry. It's not growing as quickly as Shopify, and they're literally in the same exact business. Shopify being in Canada, BigCommerce being in the US. So anyways, that is what I got for you. I'm running out of time. Go ahead and tell me in the ticker, in the chat panel, what you guys would like to see tomorrow. Tomorrow is what? Is Tech Giant Tuesday. Steph says, overly expensive for what they offer. I'm still bullish on Shopify, and I used to compete against Shopify until some guy said, hey man, I'll buy your company from you. I'm like, yes, please. We're getting our rear ends handed to us every day because of Shopify. And if I was smart, I should have put all that money that I got into Shopify and just walked away for 5 years. That would have been a nice, some nice gainage. AMD, AYX, yeah, AYX is on my list. Roku, Square, DLTR, Twilio, CrowdStrike, Net, which is what is Net? I remember. Oh yeah, Cloudflare. Yeah, Cloudflare is not on my list. Arna, Spotify, Alibaba. What else we got? Mike, thanks. I thought so. Battery Day on Tesla is tomorrow. That's correct. ARKKIRM. Some of these I never heard. Thank you, Jacob, for the nice words. Thank you, Edward. Square, Dollar General. I did have a question for you guys. How do you guys come up with these lists? Because some of these I never heard of. Some of these I've obviously heard of: Square, Redfin, Intel. I'm curious how you guys come up with this. Is it just something you like and look at, or how you come up with some of these? Thank you, Lehman. Thank you, Jeff. Yep. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Mike. EVPR. And you guys this is going to be a massive list tomorrow. NVTA. Thank you, Ariel. Matt, can you post your link for the first indicator you were using? Which one was that? I think it was the naked put indicator. Is that what you're talking about? Does anyone have that link they can post real quick before we shut down the room? Tanya, all good. Thank you. Here the wing is healing. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much. The one I was going to post. I came in later. Thanks for returning. Can't wait to watch the whole replay. Thank you, Allison. The one before, was that the 10 EMA? The 10 EMA one I have not actually posted yet, so I'll post that and put it in Slack here in a minute. Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Lucian. Thanks, Terry. I'm looking for the 10 EMA indicator. Yep, I can do that. Thanks, Moy. Thanks, Steph. Oh, there you go. DJ. Is that Dan Jansen? Yep. That's the naked put too. The 10 EMA is the one I still need to post. Yep. Oh, DJ Klein. Sorry. Hi, DJ. All righty. The 10 EMA. Yep. I'll post that in Slack here shortly. Anything else for me, guys? All righty. Well, thank you so much. And Jeremy will be back on the microphone tomorrow, which is Tech Giant Tuesday. And don't forget to love life, live life, and trade it. Thank you, and good night.